Hello, welcome to CCA Presents. My name is Stephanie White. I'm with the Kane College of the Arts. I need to tell you where we are today. This is kind of my location. This is the dance studio in the Chase Fine Arts Building in the theater area. I actually started taking ballet classes in this room, this very room, in 1982 with Maggie Moore and Sandra Emile. They started the Cache Valley School of Ballet in town, and this is where I took lessons at this bar. I've been fortunate enough with the Kane College of the Arts. They have been able to update it, give it a sprung floor, so it's so much better than it was. We're also making it into being a smart technology classroom space in order to facilitate our students for this fall semester. I am the program coordinator for Arts Access program. It's an endowment that was offered and given to us by Beverly Taylor Sorensen Foundation. She was an incredible philanthropist, and in 2007 she awarded the college this incredible gift. And the gift is to provide arts for students with disabilities. Let's see, today we are going to actually offer you some incredible films that have been created with our director, Raymond Vion, who is the director of Arts Access Program, and then has been edited and filmed by Andy Lorimer, who you will also see on this program today.
My name is Andy Lorimer, and I was hired as the filmmaker for these Arts Access videos. I've been working with Raymond Vion for 5 years now, making these videos, and it's been a pleasure. It's been great to work with Raymond and with Arts Access. It's a very cool hands-on program where they bring in visiting artists from mostly from Georgia and some people here locally as well, to work with these kids and provide very unique experiences, hands-on art projects. So the videos you're going to see tonight, they're just a few of the many that are on the Arts Access YouTube channel. So feel free to go check it out. They're a great resource, and we really want to get the word out of these videos so that you can use them, and it can be helpful in your classroom, in your family, well, however you want to use them, but they're there for you to use. So this video you're about to watch is Connecting Through the Arts, and it features one of the violinists from the Kane Quartet talking about the impact that the arts have. It's a powerful connection that you can make with people and with students and with kids. And it's a great little video summing up, you know, the mission of the Arts Access program. So here's Connecting Through the Arts.
With the arts in general, when you involve a student in creation, in listening to beautiful music, in putting a paintbrush to the page, then they open up in a way that I haven't seen in any other context. I've taught calculus to students before. I have been in front of classrooms with a whiteboard. I come from a long line of teachers. My dad is a teacher, my mom is a teacher, my grandpa was a teacher, my brothers are teachers, my sisters-in-law are teachers. It's our passion. And I've seen so many teaching methods, and I have not seen anything reach a student in such a profound way as the arts. They share with you what they are worried about in life, what they're stressed about, what they're passionate about. In some ways it might seem like it has nothing to do with the music, what they're sharing with you, but it has everything to do with your connection with them as a human. And it makes possible a connection on an emotional level because you are accessing them in that way when you involve the arts, and so they'll respond likewise. So if you neglect that, then you're neglecting them as a person and a chance to connect with them that can't be recreated in any other way.
This next video is called Let Their Talent Shine, and I love this. This is Marquetta Johnson, who is a visiting artist from Georgia, and she talks about how important it is to look at students' abilities as opposed to those things that they can't do. And it's a fun little video, but very meaningful, that's important to ponder on in our interactions with others. So go ahead and take a look.
Well, one of the things I noticed being in the life skill classes here in Utah is that you have students that are dealing with developmental disabilities, that might be dealing with intellectual disabilities, or even physical disabilities. But the amazing thing that I'm finding is that they might have a deficiency in certain areas, but in other areas, they're strong. I saw students that I would consider gifted and talented in creativity, or gifted and talented in their social skills, or their ability to be empathetic and relate to people. And sometimes I often wonder, since we put them in that little box that says special education, you know, how can we lift that lid so that they could have a life that's open instead of a life that's closed in? And I think that as teaching artists and educators and staff and people that are supporting them, that we should look for their gifts and do all we can to support them in developing and enhancing those gifts that are inherent in them.
This next video is a lot of fun, dance adaptations featuring Stephanie White. It was a lot of fun to participate in, to observe her energy as she interacted with these students and provided these awesome dance experiences for them. And it was fun to see how they developed and changed throughout the video, and we're only seeing 5 minutes of the whole process. It was fun to see, you know, how these kids responded and participated in this video. So this is Dance Adaptations.
Learning more about clouds today. We're going to go on a little walk and look out the clouds. And let me tell you, there's a lot of clouds out there to look at today, so I'm excited.
I'm Stephanie White. I'm a dance specialist. I do a lot of choreography, and I work with everything from ballet classrooms to musical theater to opera to education. Whenever you want to go in and attempt to teach dance to a classroom, you want to make certain that you know who you're dealing with. I think it was really important for me to go in and observe, simply to see what they were actually learning about.
Okay, what about yesterday? What did we learn about? Wind.
One of the ideas that they were talking about was learning about weather, and so I wanted to make certain that maybe I could kind of reaffirm that information through the dance setting. I also noticed what management skills worked and kind of the dynamic. Who's the leader? Who can do something independently, or who would need someone, an aide, to assist a bit more?
Hello.
The first thing that I thought is I need to just have sort of a warm-up. I always want to start with a warm-up, and so I thought that it might be a good idea to use something, a mimicry. We decided to use balloons, and we would do this expansion of our bodies, and then the air comes out and we all shrivel to the floor.
Good, and we're as big as we can possibly be, and one more pop, and pop!
Watching and observing the students, they knew what would happen if my balloon expanded to its greater level, right? The explosion was going to happen, but they were right on. Then we got out some scarves, because that's always lovely.
So let's go up and down. Now we're gonna go around and turn and turn and turn and down. And now I want you to throw up your scarves and do exactly what your scarves do. And we fell to the floor. Good job, Brooklyn. That was really nice, JC.
I tried to start doing it more monitored or controlled environment, and then, you know what? They wanted to use the entire space. And of course, if you have a whole gymnasium, you're gonna wanna use your whole space too. It's okay to just allow for that chaos or that change to happen so that, you know, they can just all dance. We talked about weather. We talked about the wind, and we talked about rain and showed them a rain stick to just get an idea of something that would be audible to kind of mimic or motion that. You know, what would you do with your fingers if you were doing that? Then we tried to attempt a storm.
And clouds, and clouds. Da, 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 da. And we come together, and we start to get heavier and heavier. And let's have the wind come. Here comes the wind, and they're gonna push us. The winds are gonna push us down. Here we go. And now all of a sudden, everybody freeze. Good. And now all of a sudden, we're gonna get really cold. So if we all freezing and cold, can you show me freezing cold? Oh, can you show me cold? Oh, because all of a sudden we started to snow. Yes. And so now we're gonna start to fall in our, but we're gonna be in that nice snowflake that falls and drifts to the floor and comes down and down and down and all that stuff. And we fall into the floor. 5, 6, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4, clap, clap, and 1, 2, 3, 4, clap, clap.
Dance allows for people to interact in a way that they don't usually. For example, the Israeli dance that I had them dance at the end. It's just a beautiful way of becoming part of the community. So going back to Mel, the one who has the disabilities that really has a difficult time with social interaction, she fell to the floor. And so then the students decided to use that. And I thought that was just super that all of a sudden Mel was part of the group. So it's difficult to have when you have somebody who's isolated and then to also all of a sudden bring them out so that they can be part of the group. And see the other group trying to make certain that she's part of it. So she becomes the tumbleweed as they become the wind and the clouds above her. And I thought that was incredible to watch that shared experience. I think what the kids can get out of it is that, oh, look at me, look at what I just did. You know, that ability to create and figuring out that they can do stuff on their own. This sense of independence, this ability to say, this is what I learned, but this is what I brought to it. And having that pride in themselves is kind of a critical, I think, life skill across the board.
This next video is called Creative Drama, and it features Stewart Mann, who is also a visiting artist from Georgia. It was interesting to see how Barry was able to help these kids put on a theatrical performance in a very, very short time. And that might be seen as impossible, but take a look at the video, it is possible. So this is Creative Drama.
I think it is very important to use drama with special education students, as it is with all students, because students are so varied. There are so many different learning styles, and drama is a different way into learning, a different way into curriculum, a different way into self-expression. I spoke with the teachers first and asked, what are some things you've been studying? because we wanted to connect it with their curriculum. And Becky told me they'd been studying weather. So I thought, well, let's make a story and a play about weather. I went in and I talked to them about, well, what have you been studying? What do you know about? And so I kind of gauged their level of comprehension in terms of how complex our story might be and what aspects of the curriculum we might draw in. Then we talked about what a story needs.
He talked about characters and setting and all of those different elements to the story, which all of this is what we are supposed to do for the Common Core anyway. So they're just being able to do it hands-on, learning it through acting and through creative thinking. They made up their own story, they came up with the script and everything, and they practiced it with Barry, and oh, they had so much fun.
We just kept taking their ideas and putting them in. I took notes, and by the next day I came in and said, this is our script. What do you think about it? And along the way, basically at every step, I would be checking in with them. Is this okay? Do you like this? Because I want them to feel ownership of the process. And that's how we ended up with the gripping drama, the animals, and the clouds. My classroom management is very student-centered, trying to constantly be aware of what the students' needs are, what their limits are, where their interests are. I come in with a plan of what I think we're going to do, but if the students say, let's play that game again, okay, we'll play the game again. If they say, let's not rehearse again, we won't rehearse, we'll go to something else.
Being able to come up with something off the cuff, that's actually a really good skill. A lot of my students really have a hard time doing something that is not right in front of them, what they have to do exactly. And they do get frustrated sometimes when they realize they've made a mistake. All the time he was so supportive with them and just told them, oh no, it's okay, you do that.
It's almost an improvisational technique. In theater improvisation, one of the things we say is never say no, always say yes, accept the new prompts that are added to the improvisation. And so if you view working with a class as kind of an improvisational exercise, that when someone tosses something new into the improvisation, you go with it.
We practiced things and something didn't work, and so we just kind of worked together and collaborated so that we could come up with what the kids could do and, you know, make the performance the best that they could do it.
Rehearsing a play is hard, and to do only that, it really limits what your focus is. And I think the kids would get really tired of that. And so we know we need to engage kids in a variety of different ways.
They would warm up their voice and they would do the statue game, and they would read a book, and they would build up to that, you know, get the kids involved and get them, I don't know, loose, I guess, you know, so that then we could get into building the script and then building the characters and things.
The other things that we did in the classes in some way connected with the play, whether it's reading other books, whether it's acting out other books. So a lot of times when we acted things out, we would act out being in a storm. We would act out being animals. We would do animal sounds, but that was something that we were encouraging them to do in the play as well. It all kind of was within this theme of the weather, which is what they had been studying, and it engaged with various modes of theatricality.
They were so involved in creating the play and getting all those details that they made up that by the time they were ready to perform it, they had such an investment in it.
Becky and I were both just amazed at the kids, that they did not flinch at all.
They just came out of their shell, and they were able to act and show everybody, you know, what they can do.
I would have expected one or two of them to shrink inward, but I think they were very comfortable with the process. I think the fact that they kind of felt ownership of the play, they had come up with the character names, they had come up with a lot of the dialogue, you know, and that makes them feel like it's theirs. I think a lot of teachers, when they think about doing drama in the classroom, whether with special education students or just your normative students, they immediately go to, I can't do a play. I can't direct a play. I don't know how to act. I can't, we don't have time to practice and to build a set and to get costumes. In terms of the creation of the play, in terms of the creation of the costumes and the setting and the staging, our goal was not necessarily to create a work of theater, and we're not necessarily teaching about theater. We are trying to help develop the students' skills at self-expression, at confidence, at poise. I mean, for some of those kids to stand in one place for 10 minutes and in line with peers is really, really impressive. And we're looking to develop their imagination and to develop their storytelling abilities and develop their ability to stay with something for a while. I encourage teachers to use drama in the classroom in all different kinds of ways and in small bursts and just acting little things out, because it can engage kids who might not get engaged in other ways and who might not be as comfortable with reading it off a page, but to improvise something or to make sounds or to do movements of a character can really bring it to life for them.
This next video is Visual Art, Thinking Outside of the Box, featuring Jeff Mather, who is a visiting artist from Atlanta, Georgia. And Jeff has a very unique way at looking at things, a very unique way of working with students, and his mind is just full of just amazing things. And so this is a great chance to learn from him. He also talks about a very important thing. It's called the handling collection, where I'm not going to give it away. You can watch the video, but this is Visual Art, Thinking Outside of the Box.
Sometimes students that have limitations also excel in areas that surprise their teachers. Their teachers are so focused on possibly what they can't do that given an art experience, they're able to shine and show what they can do. You heard it? Might be all right. That one works? That one started to work. That one didn't work. Let's try this one. My name is Jeff Mather. I'm a teaching artist from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a teaching artist. I'm also a community-based public artist. And being a community-based artist means I don't have a studio practice where I make work that's my own individual work. I only work in collaboration with schools and communities. The way the design process happens in the site sculpture residencies is we take about the first half of the residency to do what I call R&D, research and design, as opposed to research and development. And this means taking photographs of the site, whether it's outdoors or indoors, usually from multiple angles. We proceed to design it with a photograph of the site as opposed to drawing ideas on blank paper. So it's art in context. Whatever's going on in that physical place becomes the primary inspiration for what we design and how we design it. In the midst of doing a lot of drawing, and encourage them to do what we call iterations, to not execute one design and say, done, because sometimes students have that impulse to quickly fulfill what they think you've asked of them and then throw their hands up or push back and say, I'm done. And instead to encourage them to think, that was a good first swing at it, now let's develop it. And so they really get that idea that they're honing their ideas, they're developing their ideas, and they're doing a whole sequence or series of iterations. Sometimes students who are drawing a lot, they reach a sticking point and they need another way to open up the flow of their ideas. So one of the things we do is we have what we call a handling collection. Being involved with a handling collection or getting in the groove of handling the handling collection is a form of pure play. This is something where educators can have an artistic thing that they do before you throw a design challenge or a design problem at a group, is that you compose a handling collection of tools, gadgets, materials, chunks of this and that people can take some time to just fiddle with. And they don't have to talk about, oh, I see, this makes me think. They don't have to verbalize. That they can just have that time to have spatial, kinesthetic, tactile experience that then informs what they go on to design. We are such a society of specialization that I'm discovering that more and more kids don't have experience with tools and materials. And they're excited just simply to get their hands on raw materials and tools that they've never held before. When I work with students on the autism spectrum, sometimes they get into a habitual way of drawing and drawing the same way or the same thing over and over again. I was working with a student in a class that was on the autism spectrum, everyone in that class was, and when I asked him to draw, he had a video game villain that he was rather obsessed with. I believe the name of the villain was Carnage, and instead of drawing sculpture designs, he would draw Carnage in the photograph where the sculpture might be. And no matter how much I encouraged him to shift gears, the Carnage seemed to always appear. When we had him try to explore some other ideas with a handling collection, we had some debris like from a junkyard that were like hubcaps and wheels. So we had materials like that laid out in this large open space on the carpet, and he just moved all around that space and manipulated those materials and built all kinds of towers and constructions to kind of work out the possibilities, what could be done with those forms. He really did shift gears, and we heard no mention of his video game villain that he was so fond of. It's nice to have another thing to step sideways out of doing just the drawing, where they can then explore other kinds of spatial reasoning, spatial thinking, and then that helps a lot when we then go back to the design process for the collaborative project. When you get students to try new things, to step out of their comfort zone, and to collaborate, it begins to build something that is currently being referred to often as soft skills. And what we see is that art activities, whether it's performing arts or visual arts, build these soft skills, which include good communication, collaboration, and thinking outside of what's given. So when we have kids and students who are allowed to have increased art activities, it's measurable. You can see that they actually have built these other sets of skills that are now so valuable to employers.
My other job is with the theater department. I'm a professional practice instructor, and I work specifically with dance. So I teach all sorts of dance, ballet, tap, jazz, modern, period, and social dance. I work with arts integration to offer educators the means of using dance and movement in their classes. And then I love to choreograph, and I do a lot of the shows, any of the staging that needs to happen, and the choreography in musicals here on campus. So I really love my job.
This next one is called Bringing Classical Music to Students with Disabilities, and it features the Cane Quartet from a few years ago. And it's a lot of fun to watch and see how the quartet interacts with the students and shares their talents with them. So this is Bringing Classical Music to Students with Disabilities.
Music is part of being human. I see this with young kids. They react really well to music, and it just is a natural part of being who we are.
I think music is an expression from the heart. It bridges physical, emotional, and cognitive barriers that I think language struggles to do. And so we can connect with people in a way that goes beyond the constructs of society and goes more to who we are as people. So we wanted to prepare the kids for a fantastic performance experience where they would be engaged not only as a well-behaved audience, but as active listeners. And so we were trying to open their ears to the different elements of music.
As a quartet, we worked through the different parts of the piece and thought about what we wanted to talk about.
And we found places in the music, in the piece that we were going to perform, to illustrate the concepts that we wanted to share with them.
We would talk about the element and then play a short snippet of the piece and let the kids listen to it and interact either with actions or drawings or other ways for them to connect to that particular piece of music.
We also did it with characters and emotions because music is such a unique experience, and we wanted them to pay attention to not only what they were hearing, but what they were experiencing, what they were feeling. We found different places that had different characters, contrasting characters and emotions that made us feel differently. And then we asked the kids to raise their hands if they felt sad or happy or excited, whatever the emotion that they might have been feeling, not because they would necessarily be feeling that exact way, but because we wanted them to be in tune with their emotions and their feelings while they listened to the music. We also talked about communication.
Whether it's starting together or like how we share the melody between the players and pass it around.
So we began the piece without communicating with each other. So of course we all started at different times, we weren't looking at each other, we kind of faced away from each other, and we all had our own ideas about what we were going to do, and we played different dynamics and with different characters, and we were in completely different places. And the kids thought it was hilarious because they knew that this is not what music is supposed to sound like, and that helped to drive home what it is supposed to be like. And it's that really cohesive co-creation that comes from communicating and creating in the moment with the other musicians. So then we showed them what that was like immediately after.
And so we prepared them to have a meaningful experience with the piece and with classical music in general before we gave a mock performance and let them practice their best concert manners and also their best listening skills.
There was an energy from the kids that took us off guard in the best way possible, and we fed off of that.
They were smiling, they were happy, they were moving, they were energetic, and really connecting to what we were playing.
And their energy brought the music to life for us. It brought the concepts that we were trying to share to life so that they were really real and interactive, I would say, because that's really what music is something to be shared. It wasn't just us that was creating that music. It wasn't just the conversation between me and the other three musicians. It was also a dialogue with the students. And that was especially true since we had had interactive experiences leading up to the final 5-minute performance, as we tried to teach them to listen and really to engage. Then when we had our final performance, then they were locked in on what we were doing and they were a part of it. They were mimicking our emotions, pretending that they were playing the violin or the cello, or they were bouncing with the beat. Some of them would even hum a little bit. But it wasn't interrupting what we were doing, it was enhancing it, and it was really invigorating and exhilarating.
Thank you so much for tuning in to CCA Presents tonight. We hope that we can bring you more quality content in the future. Without the mask.
CCA Presents is made possible by the support of our generous donors. To make a tax-deductible donation, please visit cca.usu.edu/giving.
Bring out the heavy artillery. Oh, Justice is my middle name. I'm Alice. Dear Queen of Hearts, I'ma grow you white roses so you can learn to be kind. Tell King of Hearts to arm all his forces so you can learn to be kind. Dear Queen of Hearts, I'ma grow you white roses so you can learn to be kind. Tell King of Hearts to arm all his forces so you
Like that?
can learn to
I know. That's okay. I'm better with jazz hands.
and the